Hey everyone, I'm being lazy and I'm sitting on my couch and talking. Thanks to everyone who tuned into the live stream the other day. I had a lot of fun. It was great to talk about phones and about tablets, and that's what I want to talk about in this video, because I looked at a lot of tablets in the market, and I still am kind of flip-flopping between lots of different tablets, but I would say that if you look at the beginning of the tablet market and you look at where the tablet market is now, I think it's fair to say that Apple have won. I do think that's true. Now, normally, one of the criticisms I get in my channel is that I'm an Android fanboy because the phones I review are Android, and I had an Apple iMac which I sold, but I used to have an Apple iPhone 4, so it's been many years since I've been kind of tied to the Apple system. But as far as tablets go, I do think that Apple have became the clear winners. The first tablet I bought was the iPad 3, and I loved it. I gave it to my brother eventually, but since then, obviously, there was a lot more competition. There's a lot more competition in the market. You've got all the the major brands producing tablets, and you've also got all the cheap Chinese ones, and you've even got like Amazon in it. Amazon have certainly made a mark in the industry. In fact, I'd go as far as saying that Apple have won the tablet war, but if you have to give a number 2 to anyone, if you have to give a silver medal to anyone, I would say it's Amazon. But obviously they're not really competing with each other. Amazon, what they're doing is, they're producing really, really cheap tablets. The good tablets, they've kind of got a 7-inch one, an 8-inch one, and a 10-inch one. But it's clear that they're kind of aiming towards the bottom end of the market. And they've got a couple of different kids ones as well. And they've got some really good policies, with the kids ones as well. That is like they give them like content for a year for the kids, and it's if a kid breaks it, they send it back and they send you a new one. Content is without doubt key here. The word content, because Amazon and Apple have content. They sell content, and this is where the money is being made. And I think that this is one of the main reasons why a lot of the computing companies out there, the big international companies out there, have pulled from the tablet market. And they've not really pulled out the market 100%, but they kind of have. So if you look at the Amazon world, Amazon have got a couple of tablets, and really the Amazon Fire tablets are fantastic value for money. And to be honest, I keep flip-flopping and thinking maybe I should just get an Amazon one because they're so cheap. They're so cheap, and they don't do everything that I want to do. As you guys know, I'd like to do some YouTubing. I'd like to do some live streams rather than use my phone. I'd like to use the tablet. And their tablets have like VGA cameras, so they're pretty much useless from a recording point of view from me. And then it's the same with Apple. They've got so much content. They sell music and content and apps and all the rest of it. But let's take a step back and look at what's happening in the Android world. When we were on the live stream the other day, lots of you suggested lots of different tablets to use. And there's a lot of really good Android tablets. The problem is most of them are from years ago. Probably the best Android rated tablet of the last few years was the Google Pixel C. Samsung have been really kind of active in the tablet market the last few years, but their main one, the S3, is like a year old. Or in fact, it's maybe even 2 years old now. And then you've got the Sony Z4, Arsenal Glasgow recommended that one. That's another fantastic tablet, but that's like 2 or 3 years old as well. And if you look at reviews of lots of Android tablets, one of the main criticisms is that, well, they're not updated. So if you're going out to buy an Android tablet, it's not going to be Android 8.0 or 8.1 like your phone. It's going to be Android 5 or Android 6 or Android 6.1. And the ones from a year or two ago will be Android 7. And that's a problem because, because these computing companies aren't selling content, they can't really reduce their tablets as much as competitors. So what you're left with for them is very thin margins for them. And with phones getting bigger, less people are buying tablets, and also tablets aren't something that you need to buy every year or two like a phone. There's people who've got iPads that are 5-6 years old and they still work great. So the Android world, there's so many different options out there. Lenovo has some really good tablets with the Yoga. Samsung have the S series is pretty good. Asus, Acer. And there's kind of a lot of cheap brands out there as well. The only one though I would say from a software updating point of view that's been really good has been NVIDIA. So I was really surprised about that, but their NVIDIA Shield, they've updated that, I think, from like 5 to 6 to 7, and they've been probably the most active as far as continually supporting a product that was released years ago, whereas many of the other large companies, they've just dropped them. After a year, or even less than a year, they've just dropped doing updates, and that's a real big concern when it comes to security updates and things like that, and compatibility with apps as well. And as far as that goes, compatibility goes, well, this is another area where Apple's winning. You know, talked about Android, we talked about Amazon, and Amazon's got their own little ecosystem. They've got a lot of apps, but you can sideload Android and the Play Store onto it and load up Android. But the problem with the Android world is that most of the apps are optimized for mobile phones. They're not optimized for tablets. And there's a lot of dedicated apps for tablets in the Apple world. So over the last few years, we've seen Apple produce more and more iPads over the last year. And as I said, so it's been a few years since Sony released a good tablet. Google basically just pulled out the race altogether. A lot of other companies as well, they've kind of moved towards the lower end of the market rather than, you know, kind of like high end ones. But Apple are still guns blazing on the tablet world. They've just released the new Apple iPad, 9.7 inch, very, very good. It's £320 in the UK. The middle of last year, you had the iPad Pro, 12.9 and 10.5 inch versions. And from a specs point of view, that's probably the ultimate one for me. So if I'm going to spend some money, that's, you know, it's probably the iPad Pro iPad Pro 10.5 that I'm kind of leaning towards as far as it does everything that I need. You know, as I said, though, I keep flip-flopping because, I don't know, you know, with at the same time, as much as I want an iPad Pro, there's also that kind of cheap end at the other side where I'm like, well, why don't I just get a cheap-ass tablet for £50, a cheap Amazon Fire tablet, and it does 80% of what I want to do. But, you know, it's not to say that there aren't companies out there in the Android world still producing tablets. Huawei is one that's come out. They've released the M5. But, you know, at £350 for the M5, the reviews are okay, but just about every review says, well, you can get an iPad for that. And another criticism that's been kind of thrown in Huawei's end the last few years has been that the battery life hasn't been great. You know, over time the battery degrades because they're using cheaper batteries, and that's not something that's been thrown at Apple's products. So this video isn't to say that you should only buy an Apple iPad. There is choice out there, you know, but I do think that if you're buying a low-end tablet, I think the Amazon Fire tablets are a good option. There's a couple of cheap Lenovo ones out there as well, you know, and a couple of cheap Samsung ones out there as well. But I would say that Amazon's Fire tablets, if you just want a very cheap tablet, go for the Amazon Fire tablets. But if you want a really good tablet, I think Amazon's new iPad or last year's iPad Pros, the 10.5 and the 12.9 inch ones, I think Apple have got it. You've really got control of the market as far as software goes, as far as all the apps goes. And to be honest, when you look at the prices of some of these Android tablets, I still think that iPads are actually very competitive. I mean, in general, Apple products are always, I would say, generally overpriced. I say that about their MacBooks, I say that about their iMacs, I say that about their phones. But in the tablet world, when you look at, you know, like Huawei's, it's the only one I can really compare it to, but if you look at Huawei's M5 that just came out, specs-wise, it's a really good tablet, but it just doesn't seem to match up with the iPad that's released, and the iPad's actually cheaper. So, yeah, it looks like Apple's won this one. And to those guys that say that I criticise Apple, I've never had a problem with Apple products. I just think that in general, in the phone world, there's a lot more better options, you know, in the Android world. For computers, there's a lot of great laptops out there from Dell and from Lenovo, from these other companies. But it does seem that in the tablet world, Apple have run away with it. And, you know, Amazon's second place, they've got the silver medal, but I do think that if you're looking for a tablet, an Apple iPod, something wrong with me today, an Apple iPad, got there in the end. I do think that if you're looking for a tablet, an Apple iPad should be at the top of your list, and it should be one of the first ones you look at. So thanks for watching, guys. I'd love to hear a few on this, because I realise some people will disagree with me on this. But yeah, I do think that Apple have won the tablet war. But hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully Amazon come out with another Fire tablet this year that's, you know, a little bit better. And competition is good. I'm not emotionally tied to anyone, so I'm happy to switch to anyone. I have got no loyalty to any brand. But right now, Apple's won it, guys. Apple has won it. So please do leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.